Okay, we get a lot of inquiries about cutting plasterboard, how to cut plasterboard, what's the neatest way to cut plasterboard, etc. So this is just a very short video with a small scrap of plasterboard just to show you the quickest and most effective way of cutting. A lot of the cutting is going to be done if you're tacking into your partition walls or whatever, so the plasterboard sheets won't be fixed. So that's what we're going to demonstrate first of all. And let's say we have to shorten this sheet by a couple of inches, so we'll draw our line, draw our line, and then we can simply put our straight edge on the line and cut down the plasterboard. All we've really got to do is score the cardboard on the outside or the plasterboard backing, and then lift the sheet up, and I'll turn that to the camera so you can see what I'm doing, and simply bend the plasterboard, and it will break on that cut line. And then, being very careful, we cut down the crease with our knife. Oh, not very neat. And hey presto, we've got a neat cut on our plasterboard. That can be rubbed down with a saw, or just a straight edge, or even the blade that we use, so that we can get a decent edge on there. That's one way of doing it. We could of course saw down that line. That's a simple operation. We can use just a normal hand saw to saw straight through. That tends to blunt the saw, isn't very effective. And then of course we've got a pad saw which we can use as well. So that's three ways to cut a piece of plasterboard simply and easily. One of the bigger questions we get about downlighters: how do I make the hole for my downlighter? And one of the first things that we're going to do when we're cutting plasterboard that's in situ is use a detector to see whether or not there are any cables behind it. There's a separate video on using a cable and pipe detector. So first thing we're going to do is make sure before we cut any holes that there are no cables or pipes or anything behind that. And then of course the best tool to use for cutting a circle like this is a pad saw. Or it's sometimes called a board saw, but first we've got to get the board saw in, and if this is in situ and there's nothing behind it, the easiest way of getting the saw in is simply to bash a little hole using a hammer, very, very quickly, and then of course it's a dead simple operation to start cutting. Obviously it's quite awkward for me because I'm upside down, but you can see the process of how we're going to cut that ever so easily into the circle. So we'll leave it there. But that's a very short video on how to cut plasterboard.